You ever get offered something that seemed, too good to be true? Cheaper, faster, packed with features. Yeah, there's usually a reason for that. What if I told you that some of the technology that you're plugging directly into your networks, like our homes and even our public safety systems, might be the digital equivalent of candy with something a little more dangerous inside? And most people would never know it. Well, that's coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NENA certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I try to bring you the latest, most informative, and sometimes controversial takes on emergency communications. Today we're going to be diving into something that doesn't nearly get enough attention, but absolutely should. And that's the growing complexity of the technology that we rely on daily, and the hidden risks behind where it comes from. Now, this was sparked out of a great discussion out of the FCC and the Hudson Institute around national security, supply chain risk, and something called the covered list. Now, I know this doesn't exactly sound exciting, but trust me, this one matters, because this is about what's sitting inside your network and whether you actually trust it. Not just in your business environment, but in your homes and your public safety networks. What's actually happening? Let's start with the basics. Technology today is no longer simple. It's layered. It's interconnected. And most importantly, it's globally sourced. That means components, software, firmware, and sometimes entire systems are being built, assembled, and distributed across multiple countries. And some of those don't exactly align with U.S. national security and our interests. And that's what the problem is. The average consumer, and quite frankly, even most organizations, don't even have the ability to evaluate that level of risk. What they see is lower cost, faster deployment, more features. That checks all the boxes. So they make a decision. But the things that they're not seeing are things like supply chain exposure, embedded vulnerabilities, potential backdoors, and foreign control risks. Those are features that don't usually get printed on the box. The covered list. This is where something called the FCC's covered list comes into play. And the name may be a little confusing, as it's not a list of what's allowed, it's a list of what's not allowed. Think of it as a guardrail. It's kind of a way of saying these are vendors and technologies that are presenting an unacceptable risk to our national security. And they should absolutely not be part of our communications infrastructure. Because without that list, we're basically asking every single agency, every business, and every consumer to magically become a cybersecurity expert overnight. And that just isn't realistic. So, the covered list acts as our filter. It's a layer of protection between what looks appealing and what might actually be dangerous. The candy with poison problem. Look, here's the way I'm going to say it the way I see it. And if you know me, it's going to be a little harsh and to the point. Some of this technology is the digital equivalent of candy. It looks great. It's priced right. It's easy to grab. But inside, you don't always know what you're getting. And in a world where adversarial nations are actively investing in cyber capabilities, that needs to concern all of us. Because once that technology is embedded into your network, it's not just a device anymore. It's a potential access point. Why public safety needs to care. So let's bring this back to our world, public safety. Because the covered list isn't just a consumer issue. This is ECC infrastructure, NG911 systems, things like cameras, sensors, IoT devices, really any network equipment, all of it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We're rapidly expanding the amount of connected technology in our public safety environments. So at the same time, we're increasing our exposure. Next generation 911's great, but it's built on IP, Internet Protocol. By nature, that means everything connects to everything else. And when everything connects, everything matters. reality check. Here's a reality check. You cannot secure what you don't understand. And right now, the complexity of technology has completely outpaced most people's ability to fully grasp the risk. That's not a failure. That's just where we are today. And that's exactly why a framework like the covered lists are so important. Because without them, we rely on assumptions in an environment where assumptions get you burned. The bottom line. Look, here's the bottom line. The covered list isn't about limiting choice. It's about protecting infrastructure. Because in today's world, not all technology is created equal. And not all of it comes with your best interests in mind. So if we ignore that reality, we're just asking for trouble. We're not just taking a risk, we're inviting one in. And agencies that understand that and act on it are going to build networks that aren't just innovative, but resilient. And as for the ones that don't, well, they may not realize the problem until it's already inside their environment. That wraps up today's episode of TiPS Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. For more updates and insights, remember to follow me on social media at Fletch911. And don't forget you can visit 911tips.com where you'll find a complete archive of all of my previous episodes. My blogs are pretty expansive and available online at Fletch.tv. And of course, my professional website is at Fletch911.com. Stay safe. Thanks so much for listening. And if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG 911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.